And then obviously I've lost count of the amount of trials I've done, being in court during trials. There have been times when I'm be convinced that my client's going to be convicted and the jury would turn around and deliver a not guilty verdict. And you're like, hold on, what? And even everyone, I remember there's one case, the judge is surprised. I'm surprised. My poor client is like, what? He was ready to, to go go to the cells and go to prison. And the jury's returned this verdict, and it's happened the other way round. So I've just thought, like, again, forget me and forget the client to an extent, but the family members and friends and family of the person who thought, this person was going to get what we thought they deserved. So that was always like the paramount thought in my head when I was writing a book. And I think it's a good storyline, because I think you can kind of put yourself in that position. You can see yourself there. How would you feel if it was you? And what would you do?
This is Story to Count with Jen Jumba. In conversations with writers, something magical happens, and as readers, we begin to see them as human beings and not just the name on the spine of a book. My hope is through these conversations, you learn about their craft, and them as a person, you'll become like me. Fiercely loyal, want to read their current book, entire backlist, any future book, or any book they blurb. And when you see their name, you'll want to support them, not only as the incredible storytellers, but also the thoughtful individuals you have come to know. I'm super excited today because my guest is Nadine Matheson. She lives in London as a criminal solicitor. In 2016, she won the City University crime writing competition and completed the creative writing master's degree with distinction in 2018. In 2019, her debut novel, The Jigsaw Man, was won by HQ or HarperCollins in a 6-publisher auction and published in 2021 and became a bestseller. It's been translated into 15 languages and has been optioned for television. Her second novel, The Binding Room, featuring DI or Detective Inspector Henley in the Serial Crimes Unit, was published in 2022. Her novels have been described as gripping, tension-filled, and breathtaking. Agree. The Jigsaw Man was described as one of the best crime novels to read in 2022 by the London Evening Standard. Ian is also an experienced law lecturer and teaches criminal law and advocacy to law students and trainee solicitors. She is a regular, popular, and enthusiastic speaker at events and regularly engages with schools and libraries. She uses her platform to support writers with her coaching programs. It is clear that Nadine is ridiculously talented in many areas, and almost like a Venn diagram, they overlap in her Angelica Henley series, which is as gritty as it is poignant. I have been a fan since her first book published, and I am so honored to be able to be in conversation with her today. Being able to meet the writers who you love reading and whose works sit on your bookshelves at home is truly special. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, I have to thank you, because that's such an amazing intro. I feel stunned. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Stunned by your awesomeness and how hard you work.
I was like, is that on me?
Yeah. It is. And so your latest in the Henley series just published recently called The Shadow Carver. So it's number 4 in this series.
It is.
It's number 4, and I'm hoping there will be a 5.
There will be a 5. But yeah, so The Shadow Carver, which I'm holding up. And it's so crazy, though, to think this is the 4th book in the series that we've made it here. But here we are. As you said, it's the 4th book in the Inspector Angelica Henley series. And for those who don't know, Inspector Angelica Henley, she leads a unit called the Serial Crimes Unit in Southeast London. And in this case, it's not a spoiler, they're pursuing a group of vigilantes. And it all begins when a serial killer, she has her convictions overturned. Her name's Sian Fox Carnell. Her convictions are overturned and a retrial is ordered. But then she's released on bail. But shortly after her release, she's found dead. So Henley and the Serial Crimes Unit have to investigate this vigilante team who have a quite unique signature. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, very unique signature, that is for sure. So I have to admit, I love this series. I love Angelica. I think she's such a great character. And then she's surrounded by a really great, I don't know if you would call it ensemble cast of colleagues that just every time there's a book that comes out, I know there's going to be some kind of graphic crimes that are committed. But at the same time, I kind of sink back into like a group of old friends when I start to read it because I
Yeah.
know that somehow they're going to try to figure this out and it's never as they expect, which is
No,
really
it's
terrific.
I like that. I think obviously for me, it means I can keep you all, hopefully keep all the readers on their toes. But even with the, say, the ensemble cast, the rest of the characters, the other members of the serial crimes unit, it's the same thing when I write a new book and I meet them and again I'm like, oh, you're all here.
Yeah.
It's like it's all friends. It's nice to see you again. And I just think that as much as they're a part of the serial crimes unit, they're such a big part of who Henley is as a person.
Right. I think you've done a great job of using them to kind of further define her outside of the serial crimes unit.
Yeah. Definitely. Because I always think, I always used to think this as part of my work. I've been practicing law and obviously I'm always engaging, talking to or dealing with police officers and investigation teams. And I always thought it's not just you on your own taking on this case. And it doesn't just end when you leave the police station at night. Like you must, in some shape or form, you must take the case home with you. And it's impacting all the people around you, whether it's your family and friends and your fellow colleagues. So I always have that. I've always had that in mind from the very beginning when I came up with Angelica Henley and then came up with her team. Because also they're the ones, your family can understand to a certain extent what you're going through. But it's only going to be the people you work with who really, really understand what you're going through and the impact and the behind, they know every detail of a case, not just the stuff that just appears on the newspaper headline.
Absolutely. And I would imagine that because there's stuff in the press that they have to be very careful to not say things that aren't in the press that help them in
Yeah.
terms of being able to focus. And you made a great point. It's not something that you can turn off. It's not a job where, you work in a widget factory and you make widgets all day. The end of the day, you just go home and you're back to doing what you do. That has to have an impact on
Yeah.
your personality, your well-being, I would assume.
No, I'm not. I agree. Because even for me, like I always say that, being a criminal defense lawyer, that I wouldn't have been able to have done the job for as long as I did if I wasn't able to compartmentalize myself. And I will still maintain to an extent that we don't take the job home as much as a police officer, detective will take that job home, but it will still affect us in certain ways. Like I had youth clients who I would say to them, it wouldn't matter what time in the morning you would call me, like I would be there for you if I have to be there at the police station for you. And I was always thinking about them, like wondering how they're doing, how they're getting on. If once our case was over, you want to make sure that they're okay. So it wasn't every single case, but there'll be certain cases that would stick with you, certain clients that you would stick with you. Normally the kids would
Yeah,
stick
I
with
mean,
me.
do you ever hear from those kids to know how they're doing, or is there a way that you can kinda check up to see that they're doing
Occasion
okay?
Yeah, occasionally. I had a couple of their mothers because I'd given them my personal number, not my work number. So like once in a while, that they'll check in and let me know that their kids are doing okay. I had a couple who there was one in particular, and he was such a good kid, but it was literally one of those things where he really was in the wrong place at the wrong time. This wasn't who he is, that way of life. And we got his case. It was over. It got kicked out. He didn't get any convictions. And I'd had a good talking to him because I really cared about him. And I was like, I do not want to see you again. I do not want you to be in this situation again. Just behave yourself. And about 4 years, must have been about 4 years later, maybe 5 years later, I got an email from him saying, I don't know if you remember me, but just to let you know that I've just graduated from university. I've got a degree in business and I never forgot what you said. And that moment I was like, oh,
Yeah,
you
that's
got,
meaningful.
yeah.
I mean, that has to
Yeah, it
make
was.
some of the other ones that kinda get under your skin that might not have the ending or the outcome that you would want
Mm,
a little bit better. But
yeah,
you
it
you
does.
mentioned compartmentalize. How do you do that? I know
I
it's not
honestly
as simple as, "Well, I just take this thought and I put it in a box and I tuck it on myself," right?
Yeah, if you had to explain someone, give someone a visual interpretation of it, you'll say, yeah, you literally have boxes
Yeah.
in your head. But I
I have a
don't
card
know.
catalog in my head, if that makes you
I
feel
do.
better, the librarian.
Well, so, well, that would make sense. There's always some kind of visual interpretation for it. But I
Right.
honestly don't know how I do it or how I'm able to do it. I've just always been able to do it.
Thank goodness.
Just, just not take, it depends what it is, but just don't take it on like emotionally, and just, I can be very, I mean, that's what judges would say to me. Like, I'm very pragmatic about
Which is a good
things.
skill to
So
have in the line of work
yeah,
that you have.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I'm glad I'm that way for work, even though other times, like, personally, you're like, okay, you need to actually feel some emotions here. Maybe it's just maybe it's the Aquarius in me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
perhaps. Perhaps. So talking a little bit about Henley and
Yes.
the toll that it takes on her, she's married to Rob and they
Hmm.
have a little girl, Emma, who's 3 years old in this
Yeah, she's
book.
like 3 or 4. I think I've kind of kept her age. She's a birth. I think she's had a birthday, so she's probably 4.
Yeah, it's incredibly sweet to see that side because a lot of
Yeah.
times when you're reading criminal thrillers or crime fiction, you just see like that tough side of somebody, but to see
Mm,
it complemented with, she's also a wife, she's also a mom who walks with Emma home from school, picking her up from her dad's. I mean, it's just very
yeah.
sweet to see. And then Rob kind of telling her like stop doing this job. It takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
And she's like this is her purpose. This is what she knows she needs to do. So trying to reconcile those two things is always interesting to see when I'm reading about Henley.
Yeah. And I think it's because we can't, I have to say, it's hard. And there's so many women, not even women, men out there who are trying to balance it all. I mean, obviously for Henley, she has her job as a detective. She loves her job and she's good at her job. And she knows that, and that drives her. But also she is a wife and she is a mother, and she's trying to carry all these plates, but make sure that she does a good job. But, the job being what it is, it's not just a 9 to 5 job. And she will never want, I made her, but I think one thing I know about her, and I learn these new things about her as a character, is that she would never want to do a half-assed
You can
job.
say it.
She always
Yeah.
wants to give, she'll want to give 100% all the time. And the fact that, she's like, well, someone has to pick up her child from school. It's like, the dad, you're going to have to help out. Even asking her own dad to help out, because she doesn't want to do a rubbish job, because that's not her. But also she does have that guilt complex, because she's human, that
She
she
is.
does want to be a mum to her daughter and be there for her birthdays and take her to her parties and be there when, I think I remember there's one scene in the Jigsaw Man when she just has no choice. Like, the little girl's sick. She can't go to work and she just has to deal with her. And in the morning, her she's really ill. She wants her mum. So she stays, and then an hour later, she's fine.
Yeah.
Because that's kids.
Yeah. That's how kids are, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah. Kind of like they never need anything till you're on the phone or on a Zoom call or something,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So lots of interesting themes brought up in this book, and I'm going to be really careful because we don't want to do any spoilers. But the fact that you talked earlier that we know early on in the book, not a spoiler, that this is kind of a vigilante group that
Yeah.
has a very unique signature on their crimes, but also knowing that you're a criminal solicitor, the challenge in terms of sentencing, which leads people
Mm.
to become vigilante. Will you talk a little bit about how that came to be?
Yeah, I think because it kind of follows the Shadow Carver. It kind of follows from what happened at the end of the Kill List. Because the Kill List, which is the third book, there was a guy who'd been sentenced for multiple murders, and he'd always maintained, Andrew Streeter, he'd always maintained that he was innocent, that he didn't kill these people. And then it turns out at the end of the book, again, without giving away any spoilers, there's police corruption involved, and he wasn't responsible for killing these people. It was someone else. But it wasn't also just the police corruption. There was the doctor who did the forensics, who'd been creating false reports. So it was kind of the fallout from those false reports that led to a lot of cases that the Serial Crimes Unit worked on being reviewed. And as a result of them being reviewed, Sian Fox Carnell kind of finds a loophole, and then that's how she gets her case overturned. And it wasn't just an idea that just popped into my head. There'd been lots of cases in the UK where they'd call them miscarriages of justice. So convictions had been overturned and people had been in prison for like 15, 20 years. So for me as a solicitor, like, I'm always attuned to those cases, and you're again thinking about the wider impact on it. So again, it's not just, okay, the defendant, the person who'd been wrongly accused, but also the impact on the family members and the people who were the victims. It's like, well,
Right.
where's their justice? Because they thought they had justice, but then the justice has been taken away from them. And then obviously I've lost count of the amount of trials I've done, being in court during trials. There have been times when I'm be convinced that my client's going to be convicted and the jury would turn around and deliver a not guilty verdict. And you're like, hold on, what? And even everyone, I remember there was one case, the judge is surprised. I'm surprised. My poor client is like, what? He was ready to, to go go to the cells and go to prison. And the jury's returned this verdict, and it's happened the other way round. So I've just thought, like, again, forget me and forget the client to an extent, but the family members and friends and family of the person who thought, this person was going to get what we thought they deserved. So that was always like the paramount thought in my head
Yeah.
when I was writing a book. And I think it's a good storyline, because I think you can kind of put yourself in that position. You can see yourself there. How would you feel if it was you? And then what would you do?
Right. And you bring up a great point about the impact that it has. It's not just on the defendant. It's not just on the victim, but it's also the victim's family and the victim's community,
Yeah.
the defendant's family and their community. I mean, it's not just a single action and only has one impact. It kind of, I hate to use the word ripple effect. And then I think if I were the victim's family, people kind of always angle for that sense of closure. Right. And you have a sense of closure when somebody is sentenced and you think like, okay, I can kind of close this chapter, never forget, but close this chapter and move forward. And then to see it brought back up again. I mean, how awful that has to feel for the victim's family. Like, this person was in prison for a couple of years. We thought everything was okay. We're starting to put our lives back together. And then changes suddenly.
Yeah. And then it's all completely changes. And I can do what I do, but I can appreciate that. Because I've been in court when, there's no one sitting in the public gallery. So there's no one there representing the victim. The victim's just sad. It's just a name in a statement or on the indictment. There's no one there. But there's been other cases where the public gallery's packed with everyone. There's family members, friends, teachers, everyone's there for the victim. And also the same for the defendant as well. So I've been there in all different circumstances. But ripple effect is the right word, the right term to use, because it does have a ripple effect. It doesn't just end with a charge or with a conviction or eventually with a release, if that's what happens. There is a ripple effect for everything that takes place.
And I think you did a good job capturing that in this book, in The Shadow Carver, where the people who were convicted of something and then subsequently released to the disruption that it causes for other people.
Yeah, even with, we can talk about Sian Fox Cornell because she's one of the early ones, one of the early victims. Even with, like, I enjoyed writing like about her parents, her mum and her stepdad, because even then you can see like the conflict between their relationship, because the mum obviously thinks that this daughter of theirs is
an angel,
innocent, as being mistreated. Yeah, an angel. And the stepdad, you can see the stepdad's like, I'm not convinced at all. But he has to balance that with his wife and keeping his family together.
Right. I mean, all of us human beings, we're connected, right? We're wired for connection, right?
Yeah.
So what things do episodes, the impact that it has, and then how it influences that dynamic. So I'm thinking about Sean's mom and stepdad, and like, same thing. Like, he's got to make sure that he's good to his wife, right? Who believes that her daughter is like perfect. But at the same time, he's thinking about, well, I'm not so sure. Right. So it's an interesting web of connections and feelings and emotions, and obviously all at once, right? Not in the order in which they're received, as if you were calling, a customer service queue. So, I have to chuckle. The other thing that was really interesting in this book, and talk a little bit, because you've been criminal solicitor for a while, but the impact that technology has on cases now that they may have not when you first started your career.
God. I mean, when I first started my career, oh my God, when I first started my career, a couple of years ago, but it wasn't that long ago. But there was no, were we texting? Yeah, we were 2000, early
Barely,
2000s.
but like with flip phone.
Barely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. It was still different. This is the difference. We didn't have camera phones.
No.
So not really, yeah, so no, so that was the big difference. So when I was training to be a solicitor, then qualifying, that very, very early stage, the whole camera phone thing hadn't really taken a hold of anything. And obviously there was no social media,
No.
which is the big thing. So, when we got when we got a case, if we got CCTV, well, that was good. Like we got some CCTV, but we wasn't relying on what we call cell site evidence to say where the phone had been, where it had traveled. Wasn't really relying on that in the early days. But then, obviously, as the years pass, everyone's got a camera on their phones. So I remember doing a murder case. And not only did we had CCTV from everywhere. We had CCTV from the local council, from the KFC on the road, the McDonald's,
Yeah.
from the bus that the defendant had gone on, all the bus routes when he got off the bus, because London has, I think it's like one of the kind of places in the world that has the most CCTV coverage. It was CCTV everywhere. But in addition to that, we then had footage from people's mobile phones as well, which gives you a completely different perspective on a case. And then, because I say sometimes defendants, I always say, reason why people get caught is because they're not very smart, and they talk too much on social media, and they share things on social media. So the things that I would never dream of sharing if I'd committed an offence, they're putting that on Snapchat and TikTok and,
Exactly.
doing Facebook Lives and all of it. So it's all of these things that have changed the way in which an investigation moves.
Yeah. I was interested to read that London is one of the most surveilled cities in the world. To go to your point, that no matter where you are, there's some sort of camera on you. The other
Yeah.
thing that's interesting is, we talk about social media, and that's like one of the first questions that Henley asks when they look at their victims is like, what's their social media presence? Like that's
Yeah.
one of the questions, not, the alibi, where were you, what time? And then it's like, what does their social media profile look like? Does that give any indication as to what their
Mm-hmm.
behavior is or what their tendencies or opinions are? I know this in particular was interesting because you talk about somebody being electronically monitored with like something on their
Yeah.
ankle, part of their out on bail, and so that they can still be kind of keep an eye on from a distance and make
Yeah.
sure they're following curfew. But then there's like an like storage capacity. And I just think, like, if you would have told me maybe, 10 years ago, Jen, this is how much you're going to be paying for data every month, I would have laughed. But I think about
It's mad, isn't it?
internet and smartphone, and I think, oh my goodness. And the amount of data that we create on a daily
Yeah.
basis is staggering.
It's wild to think about, because again, even when I'd started practicing law and even just training, if someone was tagged, it was literally, they'd have a tag on their ankle, and it would only be alerted if they were to leave the area. So it was away from the box, outside of their curfew hours. And it's completely changed now, because now they have GPS. So they can tell you exactly, so even if they had, like 20 years ago, they had breached their curfew and they'd gone off somewhere, it couldn't really tell you where they'd gone. You just knew they wasn't where they're supposed to be, like next to the box. But as now they could tell you
Exactly.
every stop they've made, how
I
long
think
they've
our
been
parents
out
were
for.
born with that too, though, because I can remember in high school, long before smartphones or cell phones, and being somewhere I wasn't supposed to be and feeling a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around
They
and
had
there's
a
my dad,
radar.
and I went, "Oh, how did you
That
know?"
is true. That is true. They had some kind of different GPS
Exactly.
going on.
Yeah, and the other thing that's interesting, and I'm just curious, because in every crime procedural or thriller, we see the police force using a whiteboard to kind of map
Mm,
out things, right? They have photos and they put a
yeah.
timeline and names and jotting things down. And I'm just kind of curious. Is it so everybody can see things in real time and you're not huddled around a little screen, even though we have large screens? Is there something therapeutic about writing?
You know what? I think, if I'm being honest, I think a lot of the time when we were seeing it on TV and reading it on books, I think it was mainly for dramatic purposes.
Okay.
But I mean, that I could be wrong, but that's like my opinion. But I do feel that it's better to have something on a large scale, as opposed to everyone focusing on a computer screen. But also now, like, I talk about smart boards a lot,
Yes.
because that is what's being used. I mean, I use them when I teach, a smartboard is being used. So that has kind of replaced the whiteboard, and you can put a lot of information up in a short space of time. You can switch easily, which I think
Absolutely.
is
And you
probably
have
what
like a
makes it.
bigger perspective than having to scroll.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wonder if it would apply to other industries. Would we be better, more efficient, more
I never,
collaborative? I don't know.
I never used it as a lawyer.
No.
It
Use
just
it
wouldn't make.
use it as a writer when you're structuring your books in
Oh
Henley?
no, I tried. I didn't last long at all. I probably lost like a week, and after a while, like I no, but like the post-it notes fall off, and then something smudges on the board,
Yeah.
and no, it didn't work well with the whiteboard.
Yeah. Kind of tied into the technology is the aspect of privacy. Like who
Yeah.
can see what do we share just because we share, do we expect it to stay private?
Well, this is the thing. Like privacy is like I'm looking out from where I am now. I'm looking out the window and I can see where I live.
Yeah.
And in the small, I live in a mews. So the small mews where I live, there are 12 houses, and there are 4 of us who have Ring doorbells. So the video, you know, the recording. And I think only one person has the little sticker that came with it on display saying, you know, private. I think it's like a privacy warning and stuff. But we want our privacy, but I don't feel like we respect other
Yeah.
people's privacy
Right.
because, you know, we have access to what's going on outside all the time. So yeah, privacy is funny. It's something that we want, but I don't think privacy is something that we necessarily respect.
That's a
And
very
I think,
interesting point.
yeah, and I'm trying to think if there's moments of that in in the shadow Carver where they want maybe one with a couple of the victims they want it. They don't. It's always intruded. Actually, no, there is because there's that I can mention. There's a character called Ben who calls himself a journalist. And it's just typical of, you know, all these, I say these journalists, everyone's got a YouTube channel, um, talking about whatever crime's taking place in their neighborhood. And there's no respect for privacy
None.
then. And there's no respect for the proper course of an investigation and how an investigation should take place. There's no respect for
And then,
rules.
yeah, I would have to imagine that it's a disruptor to the course of an investigation.
Yeah, because that was enough. That was again. God, there's so many things. Again, that wasn't anything we ever had to think about
Mm-mm.
before. If you had a witness, if you had people standing outside observing, they were just observing, and you wouldn't think anything more of it. Whereas now, if someone's out there observing, you'd be thinking, okay, are they filming? Are they going to upload it onto social media? Is it going to be the next episode of their YouTube show? Either going to be talking about it on, you know, on their WhatsApp groups. And again, there's a ripple effect, there's a knock-on effect of that, because then if it's all over social media before someone's even be charged, when someone is eventually charged and it goes to court, the judge's warning now has to change, because whereas the judge's warning used to be, just don't talk about it amongst yourself, he now has to say to the jury, don't look it up on social media. Don't look for anything, because there will be something floating
There will be
around.
something, and whether or not that influences your even if it's not true, because we
Yeah.
see this all the time. Things go viral and like that is so not even close to the truth.
Yeah. And
So
everyone's an expert.
yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah, they're supposed to be subject matter experts, but somehow once you have a platform, you become an expert on everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. This shadow carver really talks about vigilante and justice, right?
Mm,
And it talks a little bit about it makes me think a little bit about the power imbalance that happens with those who, I mean, you're a criminal solicitor, right? Your job is to uphold the law, right? For
yeah.
your particular client. But some people in this book think they're above the law, think they're
Mhm.
better at the law. And so that creates an interesting tension as well throughout this story.
Yeah, it's not just in the UK, I think it's everywhere. You'll find a story of someone going out and taking, and we're not just talking Batman. We're talking about Mike, who lives down the road, and his friends he met in the bar who are not happy about a certain result. And they don't feel justice they haven't got justice. So they want to try and claim it in their own way. And I've always been fascinated by, you know, it's that classic Lord of the Flies effect.
Yes.
That you could be, sitting at home perfectly normal. You know wrong from right or right from wrong. And you know how to stick with the rules. But you get into a group of people and there's this hive mentality
Mm-hmm.
takes place.
Dangerous.
And, I've seen it and you're so easily, Mr. Normal is suddenly doing all sorts and creating all sorts of disruption because of their interpretation of what they think is right and what is wrong. So the vigilante thing, I've seen it in small ways. We're going, you've spoken badly about my sister. I'm going to take me and my friend, they don't like their sister's ex-boyfriend. They're going to have a word with them. And I say in small ways like that, then you've seen it in really, really big ways where a group have gone and hunted someone down. And also as well, the social media thing, like all the things I talk about in the book, they're not like fantastical. They are things that have actually happened. People have filmed themselves like attacking someone, and then they go and upload it and they talk about it and they share it,
Well, what
which
hope
is
is there
crazy.
for us? Yeah, no. I mean, I think the other thing that's, Nadine, that's tied into that sense of justice is the love we have for those that we care about and how
Yeah.
that motivates us as well. So,
Yeah.
yes, on one hand, you have a hive mentality or the group think. And on the other hand, you have somebody who fiercely loves another. I'm thinking of Lawrence Durant in this book.
Yeah.
No. And how his life just basically imploded when his wife was killed.
Yeah.
He was walking across the street, hit by a car.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say, I was going to say, is it a spoiler? But no, all he wants, and
Mhm.
this is like one of the lines in the book that every time I read it, I'm like, oh, like it
Yep.
kind of grabs my heart a bit. All
Yeah.
he wants is an apology.
Yeah.
He just wants an apology. He doesn't want anything more than that. He just wants an apology from the person responsible for killing his wife. And he doesn't get that.
Mm-mm.
And as I said, it's when, you love someone, you lose someone, and out of that, out of the love grows hurt. And then you're looking for comfort. And then there's always, I say always, but there's people out there who they take advantage of the hurt that you're feeling. And they offer you a way of comfort, but it's not the right way of finding comfort. But if he'd got an apology,
Right. I think he
none
even
of
makes the
this would have
yeah,
happened.
exactly. I think he even makes the comment, like, the court acknowledged that she showed remorse. Well, how can
Mm.
you show remorse if you're not apologizing?
Yeah, and it's just like I said, I think, you can read the book and you can easily put yourself in Lawrence's shoes. Or you can you might even have been in like a similar circumstances or know someone who has been in a circumstance like that and all they want is a sorry. And so
Mhm.
you you look for comfort in those moments and you can find it in very strange places.
I think that's one of the things I like so much about this series with Henley is, yes, she's part of a serial crime unit, which has some pretty incredible crimes, but at the same time, they're all relatable because we can all see
Mm,
ourselves in that situation. It's not typically some fantastical situation, but we could be somebody who's, loved one was killed by a drunk driver or who,
yeah,
happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time during a robbery and was inadvertently shot. Like we find ourselves in those situations. So the fact that you do that, number one, and that you're able to capture those emotions of what that feels like for these characters. I mean, you feel that when you're reading and you feel that on the page. I mean, there's even a line that you talk about death and death can change us. And I just
yeah.
think so true. So true with
God, I mean, everyone, God, whether it's a family member, friend, an animal, you're always impacted by death, and it will always change you in
yes.
some way.
Right. And what's interesting is there's often relatable parts in here too with Henley. When Henley's phone rings really early in the morning, the line says Henley
So,
reeled the charging cable in like a fishing line and pulled the phone onto her chest. I think we've all been there. The phone rings and you grab the charging cord because you can't quite find the phone.
yeah,
I was like, oh my gosh, she knows me.
I've done that. I've been in bed and the phone, and I'm like, where? Because obviously it's fallen off the bedside table or
Correct.
something. And I'm like, where is the
I
phone?
can hear it. Yeah, fishing. And yeah, we've all been there. So those are
Yeah.
the fun things that make Henley such a relatable character.
Yeah, it's even a moment like early on with Sean Fox Carnell and Sean Fox Carnell is like, don't know if like mocking her is the right word, like criticizing her parenting skills because she's going to feed Emma pizza for
Yeah,
dinner. And I'm like,
exactly. I was like,
who
where did you get off?
who
You
has
just
not fed
didn't.
their
Yeah.
yeah,
Like that
you
makes you a
finished
good mom because
work?
you're feeding her pizza. Yeah. Good. Yeah. It's so funny. I mean, we are, as human beings, we're just such complex
Yeah,
individuals.
we are.
We
We
really
are.
are. Just when you think somebody's going to act one way, they act some other way, which is always kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like a lot of the characters in the book. And I think even what I like about the Shadow Carver, if I think about the serial crimes unit, is how much you see different sides of the character's personality. Even like Remuta, like I saw sight him like, oh, I did not think
I
Remuta was like that
did not see that coming either. I know it's the scene
in the hospital.
in the hospital. I was like, I did not see that coming. He struck me as like this kind of even keel,
Yeah. I didn't
obviously
think,
fiercely loyal.
yeah, but I didn't think he would challenge like a superior that way.
No, and even like you think it's done and he's walking away and then there's one more comment. And I was like, my goodness, you know? So so being able to get to know the characters in 4 books, and also they still surprise you with how they
Yeah.
act.
He
So
did. Like in that moment, I was like, I did not plan this. He's funny. Ramuta's one of those characters. I had a plan for him in with the very first book, and it was mean of me because he wasn't. It was a secondary character,
mhm.
and I always had this thing. My thing was, I'm gonna break him. That's what I told myself at the end of the Jigsaw Man. I'm like, because he goes for a lot in the Jigsaw. I thought I'm just gonna break him. So I never thought he would be coming back for book 2. But as I wrote him, when I came to that, there's a scene in the Jigsaw Man when he's I think he's with he's with Olivier. And I got there and I was like, oh, but I really like him. I
Yeah.
really like Remus. I
Yeah.
can't break him.
Yeah. No, I'm
So he's a
glad.
fun character.
I know who I want you to break, but I mean, I'm glad that you like him.
Oh, is she new?
Yes,
Is it a
Copeland's.
new character?
What I mean, what's your thought as a reader or as a writer when readers say, you know what, I really don't like that character? Do you think, yeah, I did my job
I love
well?
it.
Okay.
But also I got a really, I wanted that reaction from readers. So I'm glad I'm getting that with her. But I did wake up one morning to a very, very long email from a reader. And about 3/4 of it was just how much they did not like Copeland. They did not think she should be part of the team.
No,
And I was
there's
like,
a
but that's
scene
good.
towards the end. I was like, yes, this is it. No.
I wanted her to, when she came in, I'm like, I want her to challenge Henley.
Hmm.
In a way, because in the beginning, remember the Jigsaw Man, Henley wasn't even that keen on having Remuta.
No,
He's like, why?
no.
Stanford is her partner, not Remuta. And then obviously you can tell by book 4 they're all tight. So
Right.
this new person comes in, he's just like, up.
It's also hard to come into that group. I mean, that group is pretty
Yeah,
tight. So to walk in has to be challenging, but I'm not sure if I were walking into a tight group, I would be that outspoken. I would be like, no,
no,
just kind of observe and kind of learn the culture, so to speak, and learn what my role is. But to challenge in such a bold way.
she,
Oof.
yeah, she does. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know why it popped into my head, but I was thinking that the scene popped out with Henley and Copeland, and Henley says to Copeland, like, you don't work until you understand how we work. And there's so many ways in which you can take that. But I'm like, but she wasn't willing to understand them as a unit. She just wanted to just go in there and do her thing.
Hmm. And it's so funny because I think back of like Franklin Covey, like habits of highly effective people. And it's always like
Mm,
seek first to understand and then to be understood. So I
yeah.
always think about that first, like just kind of observe, kind of get the lay of the land, figure
Yeah.
out what things are, and then figure out how can you complement that versus how can I disrupt it?
But she's fun to write. But there would be times I'd write her and I'd be like, oh my God, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Just
I'm thinking the same
calm
thing. And I
down.
don't, yeah, there's that sense of unease anytime she's on the page and anytime she's doing
Mm.
something. I am completely uncomfortable because I'm not
Even
sure
when
if
it's good.
to you it's good.
No, even when she does something that is good, like she does what's the right thing, but it's the way she goes about it.
Yes. Yeah. Do the ends justify the means? Jury's still out on that one, right?
Yeah, the jury's out on that one.
The jury's out on that one. The other thing that you bring up, there's a line in here about not asking the why question. The why opens a door and you have no idea where that open door can take you.
Yeah. That's what I teach the baby lawyers when we're teaching cross-examination.
Because I think
So you
that
never, sorry, go on.
never ask why.
No, because when you're cross-examining someone, you want a yes or no answer. If you ask them the why question, you're going to get a story and you have no idea. And I've seen it happen. You've seen it happen in court loads of times.
All the rookies.
You have no idea where that story is going to take you. And if it could possibly damage your case. So we always, another thing we'll always say when you're cross-examining someone is like, you don't ask the question you don't know the answer to. So yeah, so that is why the why works for us when you're questioning your own witness, because you want them to tell the story. But when you're cross-examining a witness, you don't want the story. You want them to go where you're leading them.
Yeah, no explanation, no excuse, no justification, none of that. But I think that as humans, if you're like, we kind of want to know the why. I think we kind of sometimes get caught up on the why instead of just like, okay, this happened. There might not be a why that we know right now. When it's hard to accept without knowing a why.
Ask any child, why did you pick the red lollipop? And you'll get a whole story. Even if you just say to him, did you pick the red lollipop? Yeah, I did, but you'll get a story.
Yeah, it's really kind of amazing. The line that we were talking about earlier that I was trying to find is Henley talking about not leaving stuff 5:30. The problem with my job is death isn't the end. It's the beginning. And it's never straightforward.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with a person's death, it comes with all of these complexities and emotions that aren't even your own. You don't have room for yourself, and you can't close the door at 5:30 p.m. and leave it all behind. That person's death follows you.
Yeah. God, I wrote that.
Yeah,
that's quite good.
I did. It's a beautifully written line and completely captures that there's no room when she's working as a DI along with her team. That how many times throughout the Shadow Carver, when they're getting together to share things, she's like, don't worry about it. Focus on the task at hand. This is what we need to do next. Getting caught up in all of that other minutia later. Right now, this is what we have to.
Yeah.
And that's not always easy.
No, it's not. It's not. I think it takes a special kind of person to be able to do that. But also, even if you are able to do that, you have to give yourself room to let those other emotions breathe. Because otherwise, I think there's only so much a human being can take.
Right. I also think it's interesting. There's a line in here that people are allowed to make mistakes, but people seem very reluctant to move on. How is it some people can move on and others are stuck?
Yeah. God, I wrote that too.
Mm-hmm. Look at you. Genius.
What?
Yeah.
No, but it's true. God, yeah, people. Yeah, when we do make mistakes, but I'm sure you can look around family and friends who they can't move on from it. They can't accept it, and they're just stuck in that moment. And because they're stuck, they allow it to dictate the trajectory of their life.
Somebody said to me recently about something and moving on. They said, you can let something that happened in the past influence you, but you shouldn't let it define you. And I thought, that's really kind of an interesting thing. But sometimes we get so caught up and it impacts our present moment, which ultimately impacts our future.
Yeah. Especially if you feel like you've been wronged. If you've been wronged, which is like the whole tone of the book, isn't it? Someone's been wronged, they haven't got justice. If you feel like you've been wronged, it can be hard for them to move on from that.
And the other interesting thing in your book with the vigilante cases is that some of them are quote unquote ordinary people. Like Sean was a nurse. And then you have Nathan.
Yes.
Who's like a famous footballer. And you think, well, like it can happen to anyone, right? That none of us are truly above the law.
No, not at all. And God, I think maybe when I was writing that, there were a couple of cases involving footballers. I think there were definitely a couple of basically they were rape cases involving footballers, and they're high profile, and some went the way you thought they were going to go and some didn't. And he said, no one's above the law. And sometimes I think people can think they feel like money and status puts them above it.
Right.
And really they're not. And also that they think that they're not accessible, that no one can get to them. But people will always find a way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like what people are willing to do to get their way, to get what they want, whether it's a job, whether it's justice, whether it's, revenge, whatever that looks like. I mean, it's amazing. I think about Copeland and what she's willing to do to get that job, and just bold. That's all I'll say. Not like
She's
her.
definitely bold.
She's like the opposite of you. I mean, you're bold, but like in a good way. She's just,
she's on a different level. The thing she would do to get what she wants, I would, no matter how much I wanted it, I wouldn't do those. I couldn't do those things. But she sees nothing wrong with it.
No, I mean, she doesn't lose any sleep. She doesn't hesitate. And then I don't look at so much when things are happening. I don't look so much at an incident, but I concern myself when I see a pattern of incidents, right?
Yeah.
And so first I'm reading her and I was like, okay, you're gung ho. You're like, and then I'm like reading and I was like, stop. Because when you're part of a team like that, you're part of this serial crimes unit, right? You have to trust that everybody on that team is working towards the same outcome and has everybody else back. So when you introduce a bit of a wild card.
Yeah. But the thing, she has a boldness. I say she has a boldness to her, because that, it's not a spoiler, but there's a moment when she turns up at Ramuta's house, and I'm like, even writing her, I'm thinking, you're doing too much. You are doing far too much.
She even makes a comment early on when they go out, was supposed to be, a drink. And she's like, oh yeah, I can't read the room. I'm like, no kidding. Of course you can't read the room.
No, she can't.
You can. So I'm just, So I'm wondering if she'll be around in book 5 and what kind of havoc she might wreak. But,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You know how you thought about Mutter and not including him in book 2? Maybe she doesn't make it.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, I mean, I'll be honest. She is an unanswered question, whether or not. I'm like, will she be part of the team? Won't she be part of I haven't decided yet.
Yeah. No, and I think that's part of the reason why I keep coming back to this group. I know that they're going to do good stuff in the world, but all the things they have to do in order to get to that point.
Yeah.
So well captured.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. You're quite welcome. Oh my goodness. It's hard to believe that we're almost out of time.
I know. Time flies.
I know. So this is Story's End, final 5 questions.
Okay.
D.I. Henley is one of my favorite characters in crime fiction. If you could pair her with another fictional D.I., who would it be?
Oh my God. Who would I pair her with? Oh.
Like Wallander, Darling, Gamache.
Oh.
Department
Key.
You can tell what I read a lot of, right?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Who would I pair her with? You know what I would like to see?
Yes.
I just think it would be cool. I would like, if we were to do some kind of crossover ever in life, I would like to see how she would work with Ballard from Michael Connelly's series.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
For some reason, I think they would get on.
I think
Ballard
they would. I think they would complement each other with their approaches.
Yeah, I think that's who I would like to see.
Okay. All right, we'll have to put in a word with Mr.
We'll put in a word.
Yeah. If you could rewrite any law, what would it be?
Oh, God. If I could rewrite... Oh, you ask good questions, Jen. If I could rewrite... I mean, there are a lot of... Oh, I have a stupid one. It's just silly, because I just find it annoying. I would rewrite the road traffic laws that have reduced the speed limits to 20 miles an hour. That's the one I would rewrite, because 20 miles an hour is ridiculously slow.
It's ridiculous.
It's too easy to break it and to break the speed limit. That is the one I would rewrite.
Yes.
Bring it back to 30.
I would make crosswalks diagonal like they are in DC. I
Oh,
hate
would
having to go over and then up or up and then down and then over. I'm like, why can't I just cross diagonally? That's more efficient.
yeah.
Anyway, you live in London, right?
Yes.
Which footballer team are you most loyal to? I should know this.
Oh, it's only one, Crystal Palace.
Okay, good.
This football team, who are playing tonight, by the way.
Are they? Awesome. What show? Because there's a moment where Henley and Rob are watching a show and he says to her, one more episode. She says, one more episode. What is a show that you will always watch one more episode of?
God, these are such good questions. At the moment, it's Invincible on Amazon Prime. I will watch one more episode of Top Chef. I love Top Chef.
Yeah. You like to cook?
Yeah, I do. And I love, so it'll be Top Chef. It'll be like, just one more question. Because obviously I've left them all to just binge watch. We'll be like, just one more episode.
No, I kind of do the same thing. I've got, like, how did we grow up as kids where it was like appointment television, right? Like you had to be there at 8:00 on a Thursday or you missed 90210. And there was no recording, no DVR, none of that.
That was on a Saturday for us. 90210 was on a Saturday at 5. Was it at 5? Yeah, at 5. So, yeah, but it's the thing, like, if I had to be at home at 5:00, otherwise I was going to miss 90210. Whereas, have you watched Scarpetta, the series on Amazon Prime?
No.
With Nicole Kidman. That's very good. I binge watched that.
Okay.
And that was like, I don't know if it was like 8, 9 episodes. Okay. And I binge watched that over a weekend. But, traditionally that would have been, 2 months? 2 months worth of TV?
Right.
Free?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and we had flashes of it. I don't know if you are able to see The Pit.
I haven't started it yet because we only just got HBO Max over here. So
because then you can binge it. But they went back to we only release one episode a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, of course you can go back and watch it whenever you want. But there was just something about like, I need to know what's going to happen. I can't just watch one more episode before bed.
But there's nothing wrong with that. Delayed gratification.
No.
And and we had patience. You didn't feel like you were missing out on anything by having to wait.
Like I'm so far behind. I think I'm ahead at this point. With what I got up on.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
And the final question, what song is always on a road trip playlist?
Oh God, Prince, Let's Go Crazy.
There you go. Perfect. I want to say thank you to those of you who are listening, and even bigger thank you to Nadine Matheson, whose 4th book in the Angelica Henley series, The Shadow Carver, recently published. You have some catching up to do. If Nadine is new to you, binge read just one more chapter before bed. If you're looking for a story that will have you compulsively turning the pages, this is the book for you. If you're looking for a story that has a strong female detective with a wonderful ensemble cast, this is the book for you. If you're looking for a story that examines us as a society and how love motivates us to commit outrageous acts, this book is for you. Being able to meet writers who you love reading and whose books sit on your shelves is truly special. To find out who else is visiting, go to storytocount.com. This is Story to Count with Jen Jumba.